Hey guys, Runzy here bringing you guys back a new video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the best survival game on Roblox. But before we get into that, what makes a great survival game? Now this video is just my opinion. Please don't take it the wrong way if I don't think your favorite game is my favorite. In my opinion, a great survival game has a good balance between PvP, survivability, base building, performance, and the map. I'm going to explain each and every single one of these categories real quick. PvP, obvious, player versus player. How well is the combat system in the game? Survivability, hunger, thirst, bleeding, temperature. Base building, obviously, building bases whether it's by yourself or with friends. Performance, how well does the game run? Can a lot of people play it on lower end devices? The map, how well does the map flow? How many towns are there, cities, trees, everything like that. Obviously is different from person to person. Some people love a game that has a ton of fast-paced PvP and mainly focuses on the PvP aspects, while survivability like food and hunger are often not a threat or ignored, like in the game Deathzone. Deathzone is a game that has been recently improving and not focusing 100% on the PvP aspects of the game, like adding a ton of new weapons, nerfing and buffing weapons. I don't blame the dev for doing this. In Roblox, you need to grab people's attention quick due to Roblox's younger audience. But they have been putting a lot of attention towards base building. I haven't played the game in about a month, but the strides taken towards base building cannot be ignored, and I hope it keeps going in this direction, where it's focusing on other aspects besides PvP. The game has some of the best performance in a Roblox game. I can hit 300 to 400 FPS, and the game can run on mobile devices, which is huge. Now, I don't think it's necessary for a survival game to be on mobile, but that does help it a lot. Most people, even on lower end hardware, can play this game at a high frame rate. My friend Lucas, he was able to do it. He was a mod. He had pretty decent frames on the game, and he had a really bad computer. The map, I believe, has improved, but it's still missing some features I would love to see. Whenever you're not in a city, you will see a few trees, hills, mountains, rinse and repeat. I would personally love to see some areas that aren't marked on the map, like random buildings, military checkpoints, or houses. I still believe Deathzone has a really bright future in the survival genre, and I hope it continues to get awesome updates like the ones that have been coming out recently. That's all I have for Deathzone. Quarantine Z had so much potential, and I still think it has that potential still, but they need to focus on the performance of the game. The game is super laggy, especially if you are on lower end hardware. The game feels framey, and I have a really good PC where I can run games like DayZ at 150 to 200 frames. Unlike Quarantine Z, where I can barely get 80 to 90 frames. I understand Roblox is mostly CPU bound, but this cannot work out for the long term if it isn't a top priority to get fixed. The PvP of the game is very similar to H1Z1 Survival. If you haven't played that, I would definitely look it up. I think the PvP is fun and unique, but the lag can cause it to be more frustrating than rewarding, as you will lag all over the place if you have a lower end system. I believe Quarantine Z has one of the best maps. It's large, has a ton of locations, and even some hidden Easter eggs like the bunker. Base building seems really solid. I love how you have to look for nails and other supplies to build walls, doors, etc. I still believe in Quarantine Z, but I still think they need to hammer down the performance, and then we can start seeing some more weapons and everything added, hopefully. I'm not even going to talk about the disappointment of APOC 2. Maybe I'll make a video about it one of these days, but it's really below expectations of what APOC 1 was. Now, my opinion on the best Roblox survival game, Deadmist 2. Now, before anyone gets upset, yes, I am friends with Petro, I am part of the staff team, but this honestly has nothing to do with it. I have been critical before about changes and potential updates. Just because I am a part of the staff team doesn't mean anything. I basically started my channel on Deadmist 2, but it nails most of the categories I mentioned earlier in the video. The PvP in Deadmist is honestly very simple, but that's what makes the PvP good. It doesn't go out of its way to be an insane PvP experience, because it has a lot more to offer than just PvP. There are weather elements that can drastically affect PvP, such as the rain, fog. The nighttime can either severely help you, or make it a living hell for you to try to find your enemy. One thing that Deadmist has over any of these games that I listed is survivability. In Deadmist, you have to worry about your health, hunger, thirst, temperature, and bleeding. If you're wet, your temperature will go down. All these games start off with food and water, and you don't have to worry about temperature. Whereas in Deadmist, you start off with a USP with one magazine, and you're lucky to be able to kill someone else that isn't a fresh spawn. It's rough when you first start out. The base building is really well made and simple. Grab a fire axe, start hitting a tree, get wood, make them into planks, then you can make some wood walls, crates, platforms, etc. Then you have the option to make metal walls if you find scrap metal. There's a lot of things you can do with the crafting system in the building in Deadmist. Okay, I'm going way too much on about the PvP base building and survivability. Let's focus on the map and performance. Now, Deadmist has good performance. It's not insanely good like Deathzone's, but the lighting, buildings, and trees look really, really solid. So it's not going to have the high frame rate as Deathzone, because Deathzone has lower quality models so that more people are able to run the game at a higher frame rate. You can't play the game on mobile, which is a downside for players, but I honestly don't think, like I said earlier in the video, any game in the survival genre needs a mobile version. Sure, it helps, but most people will be playing on PC. Now the final part, the map. The map in Deadmist is honestly really nice. I still wish Petra would add some military checkpoints, but other than that, the map is diverse and has a lot to offer. You start down south, where there aren't as many trees in very small towns like Alton and Riverton, and Ford. You head north and it's more filled with trees, snow, the temperature will start to drop, and if you don't have the proper clothing, you will start to freeze and lose health. The last point I want to make is that Deadmist isn't afraid to be a slow-paced game. Many devs today are afraid to do this because they might lose players. I mean, I don't blame them. Make that money while you can. Deadmist doesn't hold your hand. It drops you into the world and you make your own choices from there. If you want, you can head north, try to get all the military gear, and try to PvP everyone. Get the badges like the Ravager badge. Or you can scavenge supplies and get them the fresh ones. That's what I like to do, especially with me and Seth. We love to go around and give a bunch of fresh ones loot so that they have a standing chance against the other PvPers. You make your own adventure in Deadmist, and that's why I love it so much. Now that's going to be it for the video. All the games I mentioned will be down in the description. If you are interested in Deadmist 2, you can check out my Beginner's Guide Part 1 on my channel. And that's going to be all, and I hope I can talk to you guys later. Peace.
I mean, really, what's the chance? I'm just out here fucking up. I don't even know who I am. I ask, is it enough when I don't even have a plan? To live is kinda tough. I'd rather rest inside the sand. I couldn't stay inside the sand.